Here's the recap of the 3 seasons of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. The main character, Daryl Dixon, comes to his senses on the seashore. He realizes that he is not in America and soon discovers that he is in France. Trying to get supplies, the man finds a boat, the owner of which died with his family. There, Daryl records audio messages on a recorder, where he tells who he is, where he came from, and that he is going to return to his homeland no matter what. In an abandoned warehouse, he discovers walkers, but for some reason their blood contains a strong acid that burns the man. Soon, Daryl meets travelers and exchanges supplies with them. Suddenly, people from a paramilitary group called the Power of the Living appear. They are about to rob the civilians, but Daryl and his new acquaintances kill the soldiers. However, the travelers knock out Daryl, taking away all his supplies. After a while, a soldier named Stefan finds these travelers and learns from them about the death of his brother at the hands of Daryl. After that, the man decides to take revenge on Daryl. Daryl regains consciousness in a monastery, where he meets the nun Isabel, who saved him. Daryl wants to contact his friends in America, but the local radio station does not work. Soon he meets a boy named Laurent. The boy is incredibly smart and wise for his young age. The other nuns consider him the Messiah and the incarnation of Jesus. Isabel says that in France there is a so-called nest, where people who believe in God gather. It doesn't matter what religion you belong to, and they are waiting for Laurent to come to them where he can revive humanity. The nest has allies all over France, but they need a man who can lead the boy across the country, as the final goal is far to the north. The nuns believe that Daryl appeared here for a reason, and Isabel asks Daryl to escort Laurent at least to Paris. They show the man drawings made by the boy a few weeks ago, predicting the appearance of Daryl. Daryl doesn't believe in all this mystical stuff and leaves, taking the supplies with him. At that moment, Stefan and his men arrive at the church in search of the American. The nuns won't give up on him. Then, the military begins to kill the women. Suddenly, Daryl appears, who decided to help the people who saved him. Together, they defeat the villains, but Stefan manages to escape. Isabel assures Daryl that she will help him find a ship sailing to America, but he will have to transport Laurent to Paris. The man agrees, and along with another nun named Sylvie, heads north. Along the way, they lose a horse and stumble upon a group of surviving children. It turns out they are all residents of the orphanage and grew up here since the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. Daryl learns that a local man has cleaned out all the nearby stores and pharmacies. He then took all the supplies to a castle nearby. The kids tried to negotiate with him but got nowhere, only losing 2 of their group. Daryl decides to help the teens, plus the castle has a horse that they desperately need. Daryl eventually kills the crazy hermit and returns the supplies to the kids. After that, Daryl continues their journey to Paris. We find out how Daryl got to France. After leaving his settlement called Commonwealth, he sets out to find something worth fighting for. He runs out of gas and meets a group of survivors who are willing to sell him fuel in exchange for catching the Walking Dead with a large body. So he and the other hunters catch the zombies, but soon gets into a fight with one of the hunters due to a disagreement. Fights in this faction were strictly forbidden, so the men are tied up and sent to a ship as food for the walkers. We're shown that the ship is about to sail to France. There is a scientist doing some experiments, and it is for him that the hunters have been catching zombies. Soon Daryl manages to escape, killing several crew members in the process. He meets some pumped-up walker who runs fast. After that, Daryl jumps into the water and makes it to the shore as we know it. After a while, the ship arrives at a port in France, where we learn that the leader of the Power of the Living group is a woman named Jeanette. They are collecting the Walking Dead for experiments and using some kind of drug to make stronger and faster zombies out of them. Jeanette finds out who caused a mess on her ship and destroyed the results of the experiments. After that, she tells her people to find an American named Daryl Dixon. By this time, Stefan finds the audio tape left by Daryl, and by putting 2 and 2 together, he realizes that the leader of his group is looking for this American. He goes to Jeanette and tells her that Daryl, along with the nuns and the boy, is on his way to Paris. We are shown the past, the beginning of the zombie apocalypse in France. Isabel was a thief, and as she returns from a club with her loot, she sees swarms of walkers flooding the streets of the city. Her boyfriend Quinn picks Isabel up and is about to leave town, but the woman convinces him to come home to pick up her little sister Lily, who hasn't been feeling well lately. Quinn is not happy about this, but agrees for the sake of his beloved. However, Isabel soon steals his car and leaves with her sister, intending to take her to the hospital, as it turns out that she is pregnant. On the way, they are attacked by walkers, and one of them bites Lily. Not knowing what to do, Isabel brings the girl to the monastery, where she gives birth to Laurent and dies. Isabel then becomes a nun and raises the boy for 12 years until Daryl shows up. The main characters make it to Paris, where Isabel contacts Nest's allies. They go to their sanctuary, and Daryl learns that the man who can get him to America runs a small group and is located in a local club. Isabel takes out of her old apartment things that can be exchanged for information and goes with Daryl to this club. It turns out that it is run by Quinn, Isabel's ex-boyfriend, from whom she stole a car 12 years ago. The man still loves her and asks her to stay, but the nun has a great mission. Suddenly, Quinn informs her that Laurent is his son, as he was the one who got Isabel's sister pregnant in the past. Daryl realizes that there is no help from Quinn and returns to the sanctuary with Isabel. Meanwhile, Stefan tracks down the main characters and attacks the sanctuary. Isabel, Laurent, and Daryl are separated, and Janae learns that the people believe the boy is the Messiah. Power of the Living wants to crush the will of the civilians. The woman orders the soldiers to hunt down and kill Laurent. She also meets with Quinn and offers him a reward for catching Daryl and the kid. The man agrees, but plans to hide his son from Janae. Meanwhile, Daryl finds Isabel, and they guess that Laurent has gone to the Eiffel Tower, which he wanted to see. They catch up with him, but that's when Quinn's men show up and kidnap the boy. Together with the rest of the men from the sanctuary, they attack Quinn's club and take Laurent from there. The main characters learn that the power of the living have shut down the entire city, and they can't get out. Isabel realizes that Quinn only needs her, so she goes to her ex and asks him to bribe Janae's soldiers to let the boat with Laurent and Daryl pass. After that, Isabel stays with Quinn. During the journey, Laurent has become attached to Daryl and is afraid of losing him. At night, they are attacked by walkers, and their escort is bitten, leaving them alone. Soon, they are hunted down by soldiers of the power of the living and taken back to Paris. Meanwhile, Janae invites Quinn to his castle, and he takes Isabel with him. It turns out that the man's subordinate betrayed her boss and told that it was he who helped Laurent to escape from the city. The couple is brought to the dungeon, where Daryl and the boy are already locked up. Jeanette has decided to put on a show of force to demonstrate her power to the people of France. First, she unleashes an enhanced walker on Daryl, but he easily kills him. Then she chains Quinn to the character and unleashes 4 more super zombies, but even this time the men manage to deal with them, and we see that some of the walkers are unstable due to the flawed drug. The Jeanette is about to execute the men, but at that moment, Isabel's allies make a mess and the main characters manage to escape. It soon turns out that Quinn has been bitten and sacrifices himself so that Daryl can help his son and his beloved escape. Eventually, Daryl finds them, and together they leave Paris in a car. However, when they have to stop to fix the vehicle, they are caught up by soldiers led by Stefan. Jeanette orders him to kill the boy, but looking into his eyes, he refuses to do so. The soldier kills the rest of the troops and lets the main characters go. Returning to his boss, the man lies that he couldn't find them. But Jeanette guesses the betrayal and orders the guards to capture Stefan. The villainess then sets out to find the nest and break the will of the faithful people. After some time, the main characters reach the nest, which is located in the castle of Mont Saint-Michel. People joyfully welcome their Messiah, and for a while Daryl and Isabel live in this place. The woman tells Daryl that she had previously fooled him. In fact, Laurent did not draw the prophetic picture, but the man did not believe her then, and helped her because it was the right thing to do. Soon the nest leader tells the American that he has found a boat that can ferry him to England first, and from there the Allies will help get him to America. Without saying goodbye to Laurent, he goes to the location of the meeting, and after a while he reaches the shore, where a boat is waiting for him in the distance. First he pays attention to an American burial ground from World War II, where he discovers the grave of his grandfather, who died during the Normandy landings. After a moment he is attacked by walkers and hurries to the shore to get on a boat, but suddenly he is called by Laurent, and Daryl realizes that he is too attached to the boy to leave him for nothing. In the last scenes of the series, we see Carol, who is trying to find her friend. She discovers a man who drives Daryl's bike, and from him she learns that he got it from the hunters who kidnapped Daryl. This is the end of the first season. Daryl Dixon returns to the nest with Laurent and decides to stay here for a while. Daryl teaches the boy self-defense, which does not please Lozang, the spiritual leader of the Union of Hope. The man believes that Laurent has no need to kill walkers since he is the chosen one. Meanwhile, Daryl wants to go to America with Isabel and Laurent, but Lozang finds out about it. Suddenly, someone kidnaps the boy, and Daryl, along with a group of loyalists, goes in search of him. It turns out that it was a setup, and in fact the leader of the Union of Hope wanted to get rid of Daryl because he could take their Messiah to America. Lozang wants to prove to everyone that the boy is the chosen one and is going to hold a ceremony where he will be bitten by a walker. The plan is for Laurent to not get infected, and then it will prove to everyone that he can save them all. Meanwhile, Daryl and Isabel survive and realize exactly who set them up. They make it to the castle and sneak in just as Lozang was trying to sick a walker on Laurent. Daryl and Isabel are eventually caught, but the boy manages to escape the nest with their friend Fallot. Lozang interrogates the couple and tries to find out where their Messiah is hiding, but the main characters don't answer. Then, out of anger, he mortally wounds Isabel. Let's go back in time a little bit. Carol gets on Daryl's trail and learns that he's been put on a ship bound for France. She doesn't know how she's going to get to the other continent. Suddenly, she sees an airplane in the sky. Carol tracks down the landing site and stumbles upon a heavily guarded place. There she meets Ash and lies to him about being in an accident. She stays with him for a while and gains his trust. It turns out Ash used to have a son, but he died, and the man is still grieving for him. Carol decides to lie further and convinces him that her daughter is in France and she wants to get there. Ash agrees to help her, and they set off on their journey. Soon the main characters land in Greenland, where they meet two women who have been stuck there since the zombie apocalypse began. They've gone cuckoo for a long time ago. They are going to kill Carol and use Ash to continue the human race. However, the main characters manage to deal with them and they continue their journey. Soon they reach France. Carol asks Ash to stay here and prepare the plane for departure, while she goes to find Daryl. In Paris, she learns about the existence of a paramilitary group called the Power of the Living. They kidnap some people for their experiments, including Carol. She is brought to a military base where she tries to find out something about her friend and runs into Stéphane. From him, she learns that Daryl is in the castle of Mont Saint-Michel. Carol tries to escape from imprisonment, but she is caught, and Janae finally learns where the nest is. She gathers her forces and sets out to storm the castle. To distract the defenders, she executes ordinary people and injects the corpses with the formula that makes the walkers stronger. Carol manages to escape. Together with Stefan, she gets into a car and goes to the castle. A real massacre begins there, but eventually Carol finds Daryl in the dungeon. Isabel dies in Daryl's arms, and before she passes away, she asks him to take care of Laurent. Meanwhile, Janae takes over the nest, but it's not enough for her. She wants to break the will of the faithful people and find their Messiah. So she orders her men to find the boy. Carol and Daryl head out to get Laurent, but don't find him at the agreed-upon location. According to the plan, Fallot was supposed to take the boy to Paris if the main characters do not come soon. So Daryl and his friend head there. On the way, they bump into an elderly couple and they agree to give them their car. But it turns out the old man ratted them out, and soon the Power of the Living squad arrives with their leader. Eventually, Daryl kills Janae, and together with Carol, they continue their journey to Paris. Soon they reach the resistance base and find Laurent, and are joined by Stefan, who repents for what he did earlier. Carol tells Daryl that she has an airplane, and she and Laurent can fly to America. The pair go to check on Ash and discover that he has fallen into a trap. They end up rescuing him and begin to prepare the plane for departure. Ash tries to find out if Carol has found the daughter they came to France for, and the woman once again lies to him. Daryl is not happy about his friend's actions and advises her to tell Ash the whole truth. But first, they need to solve immediate problems. They do not have enough fuel for the return trip, so Daryl needs to find it. He heads to the club from Season 1, which is now run by Anna. Surprisingly, she has no problem sharing the fuel for the plane with him. Meanwhile, the power of the living is without its leader, and Lozang quickly takes over. He brainwashes the soldiers, and they begin to obey him. Soon he travels to Paris to find his messiah. Lozang finds a place where he is being hidden, but Stefan helps the boy escape. They get to the club, but are followed by a tail. The main characters descend into the catacombs where a battle takes place. Daryl kills Lozang, but the Union of Hope movement is unstoppable, and Jacinta, who continued to search for the Messiah with the soldiers, becomes at the helm. They threaten Anna, the owner of the club, and find out exactly where the plane is. After which, they head there. However, for some reason, Anna sacrifices herself for Laurent and the soldiers are trapped by walkers, but some of them manage to survive. Daryl and Laurent make it to the plane, where Carol tells Ash that she's been deceiving him all along. The man is shocked by this betrayal, but eventually forgives a remorseful Carol. Together they prepare the plane for departure. Suddenly, soldiers appear and are about to capture the Messiah. Daryl tries to stop them while the others take off. The forces are clearly unequal and the plane could be shot down. So Carol also decides to stay behind and help Ash and Laurent escape. Now that the boy is safe and has traveled to America, the main characters are also going to make their way home. Fallot tells them that they have friends in England who will help them cross the ocean. Having gathered the group, they go to the tunnel connecting continental Europe with Great Britain. Inside, they find unusual Walking Dead, who emit a gas that causes hallucinations. A distraught Stefan attacks Daryl, but he manages to fight them off and Stefan escapes somewhere. The rest of the minor characters die, and Daryl and Carol continue their journey. This is the end of the second season. Carol and Daryl go through a tunnel and get to London. Soon they're attacked by a horde of walkers and have to hide in a building. A few days later, they see a sunbeam and send a signal back, hoping someone will help them, since the building is surrounded and they can't get out. At night, a kind-hearted man named Julian reaches them via the rooftops and offers his help. He tells them that they are most likely the only survivors in all of England, as he has not seen anyone else for many years. The main characters learn that Julian has a boat and persuade him to go with them to America. They gather supplies and sail west. But on the way they get caught in a storm, and since Carol and Daryl don't know how to handle the boat, they are shipwrecked. Julian dies, and their ship, washed ashore, is looted by unknown Spanish-speaking people. Carol is seriously injured, and Daryl tries to find people who can help her. It turns out that they have been washed up on the west coast of Spain. In the forest near a waterfall, they notice a loving couple who are found by armed men who try to kill them. Daryl comes to their aid, but one of the bandits manages to escape. Daryl asks the couple to help Carol in return for saving them. At first, Roberto is against it, since he and Justina have just fled their village for certain reasons, but the woman persuades her lover to help the travelers. When they reach a small town, the locals want to kick them out because they are strangers. However, Antonio, Roberto's father, allows them to stay with him for a while as a gratitude for saving his son. The main characters find out why Roberto and Justina ran away. It turns out that every year, El Alcázar, a kind of alliance that promised to protect the locals from bandits, comes to the city. However, in exchange for protection and supplies, each settlement must give up one girl, supposedly to marry them off to influential Spanish officers. But after the girls leave their homes, no one ever sees them again. El Alcázar is led by Guillermo, who arrived in the local town with his wife Elena. It turns out that she didn't just ask to come with him for no reason. In fact, Elena is a longtime friend of a local woman named Paz, with whom she previously had a romance. Meanwhile, Roberto is afraid that his beloved Justine will be chosen, but they are lucky, and another girl is chosen. During the feast, Daryl notices among the people of El Alcázar the man who attacked the couple earlier at the waterfall. Daryl tries to slip away unnoticed, but the man and his friends spot him. In the end, Daryl kills them and throws them into the cages with the walkers, which are used to protect the city. In the morning, Guillermo is furious that 3 of his men are missing, but he has no proof that it was the strangers who did it. Daryl intends to repair Julian's boat and asks Roberto to help him. The guy agrees, but asks in return to take him and Justina with them. The main characters arrive to Valentina, the former captain of a cruise ship. She lives in a lighthouse with other survivors who are knowledgeable about sailing. Together, they begin to repair the boat, and throughout the season, the main characters learn how to sail it. When Roberto returns to his town, he learns that Justina has volunteered to take the place of the other girl and that El Alcázar has already taken her away. In reality, Justina discovered that Federico, the village leader, had manipulated the lottery and gave her away so that she would not tell the residents about it. Meanwhile, Roberto does not understand how Justina could have abandoned him like that, and is consumed with grief. Daryl and Carol, along with Valentina and other workers, are repairing a boat when they are suddenly attacked by a gang calling themselves Primitivos. They manage to fight them off, though not without losses, and Daryl realizes that the bandits are planning to attack the nearest town. A real massacre ensues, and the locals barely manage to fight off the attackers. The townspeople wonder where El Alcázar was, who was supposed to protect them. Roberto, in a rage, steals a car and goes to find his beloved. He finds her and learns the whole truth. Together, they try to escape, but they are caught. In the end, Justina is returned to the convoy, and Roberto is about to be killed. A little earlier, his father Antonio learns of his son's escape. The main characters decide to catch up with him and manage to do so a second before the guy is killed. Roberto is seriously injured, but manages to tell the main characters the whole truth about Federico, the leader of their settlement. The young man is brought home, but he is unconscious due to his injuries, and the main characters do not yet tell anyone what Roberto has learned. They report that he did not manage to catch up with El Alcázar and was caught by bandits on the way. The main characters decide to rescue Justina. The convoy with El Alcázar won't reach Barcelona anytime soon, so there's a chance to intercept them. Daryl gets on his motorcycle and sets off alone. On the way, he sees a train pulled by walkers but decides not to approach it. It turns out to be bandits who notice Daryl and give chase. In the end, they catch up with him, and he has to leave his bike behind to escape. He wanders around the wasteland for a while and thinks he will die of dehydration. But soon he stumbles upon strange disfigured people who share their water with him. It turns out that there was a civil war in Spain, and their settlement was infected with leprosy. No one wants to help them, and the same bandits from the train stole almost all of their water and supplies. The locals are willing to give Daryl a car if he helps them get back what was stolen. Daryl agrees and ends up killing the bikers guarding the train. Then he climbs onto it and kills the rest of them. The lepers thank Daryl, give him water and supplies, and he gets his motorcycle back. Soon, Daryl is caught up by a car, and Paz, the woman we saw earlier in the town by the ocean, gets out. She has decided to join Daryl to try to free her friend Elena, the wife of Guillermo, who runs El Alcázar. Together they make their way to Barcelona, and Paz suggests finding the local resistance, which helps the girls escape from the clutches of the Alliance. They eventually find them and prepare to attack a convoy that will soon arrive in Barcelona. They want to catch them off guard at the checkpoint, but everything gets out of control, and the main characters fail to free the girls. However, they don't stop there. Daryl and Paz sneak into the castle disguised as workers. There, they unleash the walkers on Spain's most influential officers and set the building on fire. After a short battle, they kill Guillermo and rescue Justina. Paz, Elena, and the other girls join the local resistance. Daryl and Justina get on a motorcycle and ride back to the ocean. Carol gets closer to Antonio and even invites him to sail with them. Meanwhile, Federico, the leader of the settlement, finds a pendant that should have belonged to Justina on the unconscious Roberto. He realizes that the guy knows the whole truth, so he decides to kill him to prevent the truth from coming out. However, Carol discovers that Roberto's condition has worsened due to the poison that was mixed into his food, and manages to save him. Federico tries to find out where Daryl is and, realizing that he has not been seen in the settlement or on the ship for a long time, guesses that Antonio and his new friends are up to something. Carol decides to act immediately, hiding Roberto in the car and telling everyone that she is leaving their town. Federico and his men try to search the vehicle, but Antonio publicly accuses the settlement leader of manipulating the draw. Federico is distracted, and Carol drives away. Then the real mess begins. At first, everyone manages to escape. Then they are caught. They escape again, but they are brought back. In the end, Roberto is about to be executed in the square in front of Carol and Antonio. But then Daryl and Justina appear. The woman publicly accuses Federico of deceiving all the townspeople, and the leader of the settlement is taken into custody. However, he manages to escape. All the main characters head to the boat to finally sail away, but Federico decides to get revenge and kill them. However, the only thing he manages to do is burn the boat. We also see that Stefan survived and, surprisingly, was nearby during the fire. This is the end of the 3rd season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.